It's time for the main event. It's the Shoe Shine.
All right. Check my levels. You know what time it is. It's time for another episode of the Shoe Shine, where folks, friends from around the world get together to talk about all the sweet doings in the sport of boxing. With me, as always, is my co-host, all the way from the city of brotherly love, Philly Irish, Mr. Drew Evo. Que pasa, homie?
What's up, Dave? What's up, chat?
Oh, yeah,
What's
yes.
up?
Saludos to everybody just jumping in. Jose El Compita, Nando Lamas, Ron B. Nice to see you. And the list, Chicano Prophet goes on. Let's see here. JC, thank you guys for coming in so early. But listen, are you guys looking at your 401k? I hope not, because this weekend, Edgar Berlnaga's stock is dropping faster than the S&P 500. Drew, I'm telling you, I think he might have stunk up that parade this weekend, man. That was some performance by Edgar Berlnaga. We'll get to that. There's a lot of stuff that went on. I want to bring the show. I don't want to bring a show to a screeching halt, but Drew, I think it's important because something happened to Timothy Bradley in the ESPN broadcast, and it had me shaking my head. And I instantly went to tweet, because that's what I do. I go to Twitter right away, and I tweeted, does Timothy Bradley not recognize or understand that the fighter he just kind of goofed about passed away? So I want to send my condolences to that African fighter. It did go viral. I think Tim Bradley was mentioning that this fighter had gone viral, but he was unaware that this African fighter lost his life after a fight in Africa this weekend, man. It was a very strange event, but nonetheless, you know, he was induced into a coma. And from there, Drew, things didn't transpire very well at all. It accumulated, but he lost his life, Drew. And we're reminded every week. We have to remind ourselves, it's not every week that this happens, but yearly, that boxing is probably the most dangerous sport in the world, and you don't play in the sport of boxing. So I think Tim Bradley was honest that he didn't know, and I'm glad the producers got to him to make it a public apology. But somebody's got to apologize for Edgar Berlanga, because his apology on Twitter afterwards, Drew, I don't even know if you saw that so-called apology about the biting incident. Let me know what you guys think about that. I'm going to let you guys know right now. The phone line is open, so at any point, if you want to jump into the conversation, you can hit us up at 702-710-3627. Talk to me, Drew. I'm going to pop this beard. Talk to me, because I want to get to this Donaire Inoue fight that it was kind of hot. D-Styles called us. We were all talking about it. I think both of us thought Donaire was going to do a lot better than 2 rounds, but I mean, it is what it is, dude. The monster Inoue continues to tear people apart. Your thoughts on that one, Drew?
Well, I'll tell you this right now. Does this show Nonito Donaire should retire? Yeah, probably most likely should retire. He had a billing career. He had a great career, great wins, some losses. He actually did the most damage to Inoue in their first fight out of everybody Inoue's fought. But in the second fight, something like it was like more what should have happened in the first fight. But I tell you the truth, I won't be surprised if Donaire hangs the gloves up. This might be it. There's nothing really more for him to accomplish what could he do? Go down weight, go up to another class and get another belt? I doubt it happens, but I think Casamayor, like, I'll be honest with you with the Casamayor fight. If it didn't happen back then, where Donaire wanted him to enroll in Vita, and he got on, and Casamayor came at his wife.
Right. On social media, too. The two camps went back and forth. Now, I saw the comment right now. Nando says he still would like to see that Casamayor fight. And I don't believe that he's officially announced that he's retirement. But I'm going to play a quick clip of how it was broken down here. Because, Nonito Donaire, Drew, was known himself. Let's put this in.
Down. He doesn't go down. He's wobbled. His legs are all over the place. Look out. Trying to finish the fight is Naoya Inoue. Another right hand.
Oh, man. Drew, I mean, I've seen Nonito Donaire fight in person, and that left hook, that wasn't the punch that ended. It was the left hook that ended it, I believe. He got knocked down twice, once in the first round and again, the one that closed it. But Drew, that was his signature punch. That was Nonito Donaire's signature weapon, that brutal, fast left hook. It looks to me like Inoue is getting better and better with each performance. And that's just, eventually Father Time does catch up to the 39-year-old Nonito Donaire. Is he ready for retirement? I think he could retire. We just saw the Boxing Hall of Fame this weekend, by the way. I think he's a sure in for a first-time ballot pick. Nonito Donaire is guaranteed a Hall of Fame career, a spot in the Hall of Fame. If he wants to go out with a win, I think they can get him a fight with somebody so he can go out the way he wants to with a big win. Entirely up to him and his family. Drew?
Like, I'll be honest with you, I think it might be time to hang him up, because if you look at it like this, the lower weight classes, like from like 125, like 126 and below, are some of the most action-packed divisions in boxing. Mm-hmm. The punch output is huge. Is a lot of action in those fights, and you're bound to get hit a lot. Like the punch outputs, you got guys go up in the upper 800s to 1,000 punches in a fight.
So that brings me to well, I wanted to bring this up to you because, of course, the week before we were talking about Philadelphia, Mr. Stephen Fulton, who I thought wasn't going to do that great, and here he is. He was with an incredible, more electrifying, in my opinion, the Devin Haney boxing clinic of a good Mexican American fighter. But Drew, people are calling for Inoue to move up to 122. This guy started off like at even minimum weight, 112. I'm not exactly sure, but this is like as far as he can go. Or can he really move up to 122 and be a threat to Stephen Fulton?
Well, people are saying he should go after Butler and go undisputed. But I look at it like this: if we look at it, Butler should not be a challenge for Inoue. I think Inoue stops Butler inside 5 rounds. Like, I don't know how the hell Butler got a belt in the first place. Like, I don't think of him as that good of a fighter, Butler. So why not get the fight with Butler, go undisputed, and then if you think the right move is to get a big fight with Stephen Fulton, go for it. But I think the only guy that can beat Inoue is Stephen Fulton.
All right, fair enough. I did see Butler's comment. He said he wants to smoke, which is exciting whenever anybody who has their own title would like to unify and go for undisputed. I like that Butler said, let's do it. I like that Inoue says, I've got business to finish. He wants to be undisputed and join the new list of undisputed fighters like Haney and of course, Canelo Alvarez. And of course, Charlo. I mean, this is a great time in boxing where we might potentially have the most undisputed fighters at a certain time. Just when people are saying boxing's dead, that it's dead, that this is one of the worst eras in boxing, that's kind of bullshit. It's turning out to be that we've got some of the most interesting and electrifying boxing athletes in the world at this current time. We may have Inoue. Dude, I'm almost certain Butler's going to get knocked out by Inoue. That's a kind of a given. But like you said, I don't know how it's going to fare for him going up another weight class. He is the monster. And a lot of people are going to be interested in that. I mean, Manny Pacquiao, went across even more weight divisions than that, you know? So
I look at it like this. People are saying boxing's dead, boxing's dead. I look on more like boxing is injured and on borderline life support, because when you got promoters and you got fighters thinking of reason not to fight one another, or you got promoters admitting to, they don't even know they're admitting to actually protecting their fighters and everything, like Oscar De La Hoya.
oh shit.
Like him admitting, he kind of admitted that he's protecting Mejia, Ryan Garcia, and others, because, as you said in the report, he can't wait to sell Golden Boy. What's the best pitch? To sell a company, a promotional boxing company to somebody. Hey, I got 3 future undefeated stars on my stable. That's right. That's the pitch line right there. And like, I'll be honest with you, Floyd's doing the same thing. When Floyd at the press conference says, "Hey, we're doing this in-house only and everything," we're gonna get the bullshit.
You know what? I'm so happy you brought up Floyd and Oscar, because on behalf of the Shoe Shine, Drew, I think that we should wish everybody this weekend, all the dads out there, a happy Father's Day from the Shoe Shine, from Drew and Dave. Here we have, you just mentioned Oscar and his son, Ryan Garcia there. And we have Floyd over here with baby, Gervonta Tank Davis here. A wonderful Father's Day that I wish upon everybody this weekend, because we're talking about protecting the babies. We're talking about protecting. Are they babies, Drew, or are they men? Are these fighters babies, or are they men? Enough with the protection bullshit, man. This weekend, essentially Top Rank and Golden Boy protecting their interests, man. I mean, were these fights supposed to be challenging or something? I mean, it was kind of a waste of a weekend, right? Let's get to that, man. Let's get to the first one. We're talking about a protected asset. All right, let's get to that one, because this weekend in New York, I'm not Puerto Rican, but shout out to all my Puerto Rican people. I love Puerto Rican people. Great people. This weekend is very special that just passed. It's the annual Puerto Rican Day Parade. And it used to be marked off by stunning performances like Miguel Cotto. You know what I mean? At the Garden, right? Where they had this fight. Where
Felix Trinidad.
Felix Trinidad. I mean, the greatest of Puerto Rican athletes would be performing on Puerto Rican Day Parade, which is the equivalent to Canelo Alvarez or Oscar De La Hoya fighting in Las Vegas on Cinco de Mayo or Mexican Independence Day.
One more. Juan Manuel Lopez. Nah, I'm going too far with that. He kind of got his ass kicked a little too much. I can't do that.
There's been a long list of great Puerto Rican champions. And of course, Top Rank has vested interest. In fact, they signed Xander Zayas as one of the youngest Puerto Rican, just youngest guys to come out. They had him signed. They had high hopes for him, and he's performing very well. But, he was supposed to be on that card as the co-main. And unfortunately, Xander Zayas, now, they didn't say he got COVID, but he got really sick in Australia, going down to help Kambosos train for the Devin Haney fight. So, I think they even put out a video of him crying. He was so upset about not being able to fight on Puerto Rican Day Parade. I have already said it on this, and I think I said it on the roundtable with D-Star and everybody. Why is Berlnaga the headliner when clearly the bigger star of the two with the higher ceiling is going to be Xander Zayas? It's going to be Xander Zayas. But they went ahead anyways. Xander Zayas was, like I said, he was sick. He couldn't perform last Saturday, so he had to pull out of that fight. And we get sucked into watching Berlanga. It was like 9 o'clock here, so was it midnight for you guys? Midnight? That's pretty late. You to stay up to watch that. Was this a Devin Haney wannabe performance? I mean, what's going on? The guy's gone the distance 4 times in a row, and in each of those performances, he has failed to impress, failed to perform and put on a show. Drew, is so bad that he bit the guy. If you didn't see this shit, he bit the guy. What is he doing? Biting Angulo, biting his opponent, a la Mike Tyson? Hey, by the way, the internet had a field day with that guy. I mean, I haven't seen people turn on someone so fast. Like, I kind of saw the progression of people turning on Ryan Garcia, but people were turning on Berlanga rather quickly, man, saying, nah, he is not the one we want representing Puerto Rican people on Puerto Rican Day Parade, man. Everybody had something to say about that. In fact, Lou DiBella said that he thinks he should have been given a disqualification post, even after the fact. There should be. Let me know what you guys think, man. Should Edgar Berlanga be suspended or penalized by the sanctioning bodies for this bite that was clearly caught on camera? If you didn't catch it on camera, here's the video of it. There you see there. Yeah, you saw it. It happened so quick. You know, Drew, I think the crowd clearly, because you could hear the crowd booing and making noise. I think they definitely saw some shit.
The referee saw something too, the blind fuck.
You said the referee saw it too, and on that camera angle, I wasn't paying attention, but yeah, there was no warning. There was nothing was said about it. The fight went on. But seriously, what is going on with Edgar Berlanga? Because I brought it up in the thumbnail, man. Is he just a victim of his own success? This is a guy who blazed through his first 16 performances with knockouts, early knockouts, barely has any professional rounds. He really doesn't. People who know his pedigree, like Christine Lopez, who's been on our show before, of In the Ring with Christine, she says she knows he can box. She's seen him all through his amateur career, that he can box. And what he was saying is, look, I wanted to show you that I can box. All right. Now, that being said, where does his boxing skills rank? I mean, it was kind of the output was really, really low. In fact, the CompuBox was pretty damn close. Yes, he threw a lot more jabs that landed, but Angulo had a lot of power shots that landed. And the judges all had it very wide for Berlanga, the hometown guy. So are they cooking the books here or what, man? Tell me, what does Berlanga need to do to continue to get primetime shots like this? Because if I was at Top Rank and I had any executive power, I would absolutely demote him to some kind of co-main status, because he's absolutely not ready to be in this limelight. He just could not pull the trigger and put on a show. And I gotta remind, if you didn't see this fight, this guy was slow as molasses. This guy fights like he's 45. Angulo, who had been in there with Benavidez, only Benavidez knocked him out. But this guy was nothing to be afraid of, right?
Like, I'll be honest with you, Top Rank has a huge, huge, huge problem. Because you invested money into this kid. And this kid, in the last 4 fights, has showed you how bad of a boxer he is, how overhyped he is, and just shows you that anybody above a C+, anybody above a C- level fighter, he's not knocking out.
Shit, we got a phone call here, 503. You're on the Shoe Shine. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Well, actually, it's the Chicano Prophet.
Oh.
I'm happy to talk to both of you. How you guys doing?
What's up, Chicano? Nice to have you on the Shoe Shine. Talk to me, because we're talking about Berlanga, and for some reason, man, I think like the stock market, you know, where they're saying that there's certain stocks that were overvalued, and now we're going to see a correction. Was Berlanga overvalued, and now we're seeing the correction right in front of our eyes?
You know, you said it right, Dave. Like, not only is he not ready for like the big time, I don't think he's ever going to be ready. Like, if I was to eyeball it right now, and not that 168 is a big division, but dude, I don't think this guy's ever going to be a world champion. He's a little too chinny. He's shown it already. I think there's a little bit too much pressure on him. I think that he knows that he hyped it up. And don't get me wrong, you know, I like it when somebody talks a lot of shit ahead of time, because, you know, that makes it greater when you fall. Okay. So that is exciting. Like, I like to talk shit ahead of time before a fight, right? Because then if my guy loses, then the other people get to enjoy it, right? But with somebody like Edgar Berlanga, like in the beginning, bro, we were hearing about people too scared to sign contracts. People would have to get bonuses to fight this dude, you know, and then the streak ended, right? The streak ended, and now all of a sudden we're hearing about like, well, yeah, but the average fight of his lasts this many times. Like, how much longer are we going to hear about his first round knockouts, dude? Like, I just don't think he's going to live up to expectations. You know what I mean? Like, He's not special. Dude, who was this guy that he lost, like, I don't know, 4 rounds to? Like, nobody's special. Like, dude, I mean, the story's out on him. I don't think he likes the pressure. That's why he's biting for no damn reason. It's not cool to bite, in my opinion. I got a lot of issues with that in general. And then he's headbutting after, and he obviously doesn't have the power to put opponents down at the higher level. He's in a whole lot of trouble. And you're right, Drew. Top rank has a serious problem.
So some of the suggestions people on Twitter were saying were it's time to cash out and put him against somebody with a really big name and just let's see what happens. Just cash out, that way they can get this contract over with. I don't know who could. They're throwing out names like Jesse Hart. Come on, he was a champion how long ago? Jesse Hart, like that's the next step up for him. Meanwhile, you've got all the talent at 168 is at PBC, and they're all just dreaming about a sweepstake opportunity with Canelo Alvarez. Which, man, I don't even think you could bring up Berlanga and Canelo Alvarez in the same sentence.
You know what? If he fights Jesse Hart, I'm going to my boy that's in Jesse Hart's camp. There's one of the coaches in Jesse Hart's camp, and I'm telling him, yo, you better tell Jesse to knock this motherfucker out. I'm putting money on him to knock Berlanga out. He better fucking do it.
Yeah, it's entirely possible. Now, I saw in his apology something about that he was frustrated that Angulo kept using the elbows. So, but to me, it just seems like, and tell me if I'm wrong, Chicano, but it just seems like, I mean, there are guys that don't like to be hit. And I think that's Berlanga. That's where he's at. After he was embarrassed a little bit, tasted the canvas for the first time against a relatively unknown South American fighter, I've seen the change. He's afraid to engage.
Definitely. He had the opportunities to counter. He's supposed to be the big bruiser. His style was not this back foot type of defensive fighter style, which is fine if you want to implement, but let's not get it twisted. I don't think this was Berlanga, quote unquote, working on this type of style. Like, you could tell he had to implement this because he didn't have a choice. He didn't have the opportunity to make Angulo respect him at any point. And Angulo was able to keep marching forward. I do think Berlanga did win the fight clean, but he definitely lost a handful of rounds. And you're right. He does not like to get hit. It's evident. He was complaining to the ref at one point when the only thing that happened was that he got clipped cleanly. That's not a good sign.
It's not a good sign at all, man. I wanted to bring up one more thing, Drew, before we move on, because we're talking about guys getting hit cleanly. But Josue Vargas was a prospect, another Puerto Rican fighter. Drew, is he from your area, from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Josue Vargas? No, he's not. He's in New York.
New York.
Yeah, well, he had a very promising career with Top Rank, but he was floored and knocked out by Chon Zepeda, a 140-pound, world title challenger. He was looking at getting the championship title fight again. He was knocked out clean, like brutally, in his last fight against Zepeda. And this unknown guy I think they brought him in there to just basically build up Josue Vargas' confidence again, destroyed Josue Vargas, man. Second time in a row. So it wasn't good, man. In fact, the referee could have stopped it earlier. I don't know how everyone who saw that fight feels. But, with this, right now, we just had a fighter pass away this weekend, from head trauma, from the effects of the concussion or whatnot, man. Someone like Josue Vargas really needs to see a top neurologist. They cleared him of a CT scan, but they need to go see what's going on, because sometimes I really believe that sometimes all those scans, they don't really show everything that's going on with a fighter. And if he can't take the punches from a club fighter like they set him up with on Saturday, then maybe for his own health, he really should talk to his family, his loved ones, and hang him up, Drew. That's just what like the kid was a talented prospect. This is awful. Getting KO'd two performances in a row.
I don't know. I know an associate of his. Follow him we follow each other on Instagram. We have conversations and everything. I might go check in to see how he's at least doing. See if there's any road. Are they going to explore are they going to talk about exploring options or not? And everything, because I think his management team. The one first thing is they're going to have to explore the options, because he was brutally stopped last time, and then he was brutally stopped by a guy that was supposed to be a become a confidence builder.
Yeah, exactly. Which is what I think they need to do with Berlanga almost. I mean, but sometimes these confidence fights shouldn't be the headlining card. That's why Jose Vargas was brought in there. He's a well-liked, like you said, he's from New York, but he just came off of brutal KO by Zepeda, and it happened again almost. It wasn't quite as brutal, but there's something going on physically, and he may need to consider hanging them up for his own safety and health reasons. And we do have a call. Let's take this one from the 510. Shout out to my Dub Nation family.
Nando.
As you say, it's Nando. Let's find out. Hey, you're on the shoe show.
Hey, what's up, Dave? What's up, Drew? How you guys?
What's going on,
up,
Nando?
Dave? What's up, Drew? How you guys doing?
Good,
What's
homie.
What's cracking, man?
Talk to
Hey,
me.
Trying to watch the game. I'm calling to defend Jaime Munguia a little bit, maybe Golden Boy as well.
Oh, let's do that. Let's move on to the zone card. We're gonna officially move on. Jaime Munguia takes on Kelly at the last minute at 165 pounds. So defend him and defend that.
Well, that fight, right? That fight ended with knockout, right? He fought a guy who's a stick and move type guy, right? Tricky, right? But he finally caught up to him in the fifth round. I mean, this isn't college football where you got to win by 7 touchdowns for it to count as a victory, right? He got the win. He knocked the guy out, And that Kelly guy, he looks like he might be a tough journeyman for some other prospects, right? Like, he wasn't that bad. It was fine. It was a good fight. But overall, though, right? Jaime Munguia is not going through what Bud Crawford went through, what Canelo got a taste of, and that's the PBC holding the division hostage, right? They held the welterweight division hostage for many years, still do, right? But still hasn't got that Spence fight, even though they're talking about it. Bud hasn't got that fight yet, right? Years later, he hasn't got the Spence fight. Canelo had to basically bow down to PBC and go over there just to get the Plant fight, So Munguia right now, he's kind of going through it now, trying to deal with the PBC, man. I have no doubt in my mind that they want the Jamal Charlo fight, right? But it's hard to do business with PBC, man. It has been for decades, man. It's been hard to do business with the PBC. You only had the Tyson Fury Wilder series because for the first fight, Tyson Fury was a free agent, right? That's the only reason that series even started. If he originally would have been with Top Rank, we never would have got Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury. We didn't get AJ versus Deontay Wilder, even though DAZN was offering him over $120 million for 3 fights. That never happened, right? So, I mean, it's just hard for me to put all the blame on Golden Boy and on Jaime Munguia when you got another party that is notorious for not doing business with other companies.
Here's the quote that came out. Jamal Charlo needs to grow some balls and stop hiding behind Al Heyman. I think it would be great for boxing. I hope we can make that by the end of the year, that we can get a big fight. Now, you brought up some interesting points.
And it's time for Drew to bring up the interesting points.
Well, I'm concerned, Drew. I'm concerned because Oscar De La Hoya has been talking a gangload of shit that he's selling Golden Boy. At the same time, he just signed and inked an extension with his deal with DAZN. So no matter whether he sells Golden Boy or not, Golden Boy will be obligated to DAZN. And since the beginning of 2022, PBC started off being the very first pay-per-view offered in the sport of boxing, and they have not stopped. Every month is a pay-per-view by PBC. How is DAZN and PBC going to split a pay-per-view between Charlo and Munguia? How's it going to get done?
It's like this. To respond to what Nando just said, first of all, Tyson Fury wasn't a free agent. He signed to Queensberry Promotions. Now, now the reason that he went to Top Rank is because Queensberry and Top Rank made a deal to co-promote Tyson Fury, so Fury would have more exposure in the United States and have a U.S. promoter to have more of an easier ability to make fights with U.S. fighters on a U.S. market.
So it's kind of like Devin Haney's deal.
Yeah.
Co-promotional
now, when it comes
deal.
to Golden Boy, you can't blame Golden Boy. I absolutely blame Golden Boy 100%. You want to know why? Because he was a mandatory for not just Charlo. He was a mandatory for someone that was willing to fight him, that was on the same network as Jaime Munguia, that could have been worked out because they were on the same network, and that was Demetrius Andre, the WBO middleweight champion. But no, he did not. He was a mandatory for Demetrius Andre for almost 2 years and never exercised that mandatory shot. And then now I can't blame. And I'll tell you the truth right now. I can't. You have to blame Golden Boy, because if it was really about championships, if it was really about trying to fight a name, he would have took that fight. But I'll tell you this right now. Reason why Oscar did not give the green light to that fight, because Demetrius Andrade, the type of fighter he is not the right type of matchup. It's a horrible matchup for Jaime Mejia, because if you saw the Kelly fight, it shows he's a horrible matchup because Kelly was sticking a move. I had Kelly winning all the 4 rounds before he was stopped. He had a problem. And if you look in that corner, when he was moving ahead and ducking down, Jaime Mejia was just punching him, and it had a lot of those punches at the back of his head. Now, I tell you, he
finally caught him, though, Drew. He finally caught him. He was chasing for 4 rounds. Drew, calm down. He went to all 12 rounds, and the judges ripped him off. He got knocked down after 4 rounds, dude. Come on, man.
You can't go. You can go that he knocked the guy out. But the thing is, you still saw some bad stuff for Jaime Mejia before he got the knockout.
Line.
Well, he looked a little bit perplexed.
That's the bottom line, homie.
Here's the thing, man. Jaime Mejia has horrible footwork. Jaime Mejia cannot fight a pure. If that guy was a better fighter, he wouldn't have beat that guy. If that guy had power, he wouldn't have beat that guy. That guy had a fucking chin on his fucking face, he wouldn't have beat that guy. Jaime Mejia is not a good guy, is not a good fucking fighter. And when he fights the upper echelons, when he fights a Janabek, when he fights an Andre, when he moves up to 168, because that motherfucker can't fucking make 160 anymore. And that fucking showed it.
I got
He's
some
gonna
news,
get
though.
his ass whooped.
I got some news, Drew. I thought Bubu Andrade was done with 160. They've ordered now. Bubu Andrade's got to either defend his title against Janabek, right, or whatnot. But today, I saw Bubu Andrade make a statement talking about that he'd like to fight Jaime Mejia. So I guess maybe he's not moving up to 168.
He been like the fight Jaime Mejia, but he
reminded everybody, hey, let's make it happen at the zone. He's willing to come. He's not going up to 168. He's going to defend his title at 160. Whatever. It is a good fight. I'll agree with Drew. Jaime does seem to have a problem with guys with good feet. And Jaime also has the kind of power that could change a fight.
Like he's never ducked anybody. Hey, Drew, you're defending Andre like he never ducked anybody.
Who's got the worst
right? How he ducked Jamal already?
Let's argue it.
Time out.
Sorry, guys.
No, Jamal Charlo ducked him. He even went to Jamal Charlo face to face and challenged him.
They offered him a contract for the fight.
But here's the thing, Eddie Horn and him offered to go to PBC and let PBC have all the profits to fight Jamal Charlo. And Jamal Charlo didn't want to fight.
Recently. Before that. That was recently. But a few years before that, they offered him at 154 to fight Charlo, and he refused. That was at 154. That was years ago, man. Learn your history a little
here's
bit.
The thing, Canelo ducked Andre, so what the fuck's your point? And you can say, Canelo did duck.
Nando, Nando, if you had a choice, who would you rather see Mejia fight of the 260-pound champions? Would you prefer to see him Charlo or Andrade? I myself think that the fight between him and Charlo would not only be a financial success, but would also stylistically be more entertaining for people willing to pay the $69 or $79.99. How about you?
That's the fight I want. I want the Charlo fight. And look, I'm just a fan, right? I'm not a Golden Boy cheerleader. I'm just a fan, right? And if this is a fan, I wouldn't mind watching the Charlo fight or the fight with Janabek. I think those would be two good fights, and I think we might get them, you know? I think. But look, I understand how people are getting like frustrated with me. Yeah, I'm frustrated too, man. But the reason we're getting frustrated is we're seeing Mejia so much, right? He's fighting often. They're keeping him busy. He's not fighting once a year against some bum, you know? He's fighting 2 or 3 times a year, staying busy to keep, you know? So
40th career fight.
Hopefully by 2022 he gets a good fight. That Liam Smith victory last year was a good victory. Liam Smith looks great, right? That wasn't a bad victory at all for Mejia, you know. Meanwhile, you got Jamal fighting Jaime's leftovers. He just beat that guy last year. There's one of the guys Mejia blew out.
Montiel.
Right? So
Montiel.
Montiel, right? So there's a lot of finger pointing, a lot of like, hey, it's this guy's fault. In reality, everybody, even PBC has a business to run, right? But I think, me personally, when I'm going to get tired of this Mejia thing and I'm going to be on Drew's side, It's by the end of 22. Munguia needs to fight somebody by the end of 22. It could be. That means Drew could be hugging it out by the end of the year.
Yeah.
It'll be Janibek. I want Janibek or Jamal by the end of the year. Or I'll be high-fiving Drew and agreeing with Drew the whole rest of 2023.
I like that.
I'm gonna be honest with you.
I like that.
I think everybody that they could potentially match up Mejia with beats Mejia. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. And I don't think, and that's the main thing. Yeah,
Jamal beats him? You think Jamal beats him, Drew?
Jamal
I don't think so.
Beat out Montel after he had a hard time in Montel. You really think Jamal's gonna knock him out? Come on, Drew. Come on.
Not to mention he's having surgery.
I don't think he's gonna knock him out. I think it's gonna be a while, but it's not gonna knock him out. I think Janibek stops him.
This Charlo fight that we're all wanting to materialize is going to take a while, right? Doesn't he have an injury?
Dude,
Charlo's injured right now.
I saw Janibek live in Oakland a few years ago. He wasn't that great. I saw Janibek live in Oakland like 3 or 4 years ago on a top-ranked card. I wasn't impressed. I mean, he's solid. It's a good fight.
I'm never impressed with Jaime here.
Triple G or something.
Oh, shit.
Huh?
He said he's
never
impressed with Jaime Munguia.
I'm sorry. I can't. Here's the thing. I can't watch it.
I agree with that.
Here's the thing. I can't stand that this guy has 40 career fights and the best three fighters he fought was Liam Smith, Gabe Rosado, and Spike O'Sullivan. And then when you try to have him as the main event,
he's 25. He hasn't had an amateur career. He didn't show up in the pros like Loma did at 25, right?
Time out.
He didn't have an amateur career.
How many fights in with Canelo when he fought Shane Mosley and all those great fighters?
Probably up there.
Canelo's a whole different level, though.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They're burning him the same way they try to burn Canelo.
I'll agree.
Hey, Jamal
I think
32 years old, and he's still fighting that guy last year. The guy we just Montel. He's 32 years old, going on 33, and he just fought Montel last year. So
how old was Canelo when he turned pro?
25 years old.
How old was Canelo when he turned pro?
It's a whole different thing, though.
I don't care. It's
16 years old.
It's the same fucking shit,
You're
man.
16.
Listen,
You're 16.
Jose El Compita in the chat says, Andrade is one of the most avoided fighters. Jose El Compita, thanks you for joining the Shoe Shine today. Nobody wants to dance with Andrade, Drew. Okay?
I'm going to be honest with you,
Nobody wants to dance with the guy.
I'm going to tell you this right now.
How old is Boo Boo, by the way? I think you know his exact words are, how old do you want me to be before you fight me? Which is kind of funny that he told that to Munguia and Oscar. How old do you want me to be? I'm almost 35.
I'm going to tell people like this right now.
He should be fighting Jamal, not Munguia. That's his generation, man. That fight should happen a long time ago.
Jamal don't want to fight him. What the hell can he do?
Oh, it's okay if Jamal doesn't want to fight him, no, huh?
He doesn't. He just showed he didn't want to fight him.
That's fine. Let's give him a free pass.
But here's the fucking problem right there. When you got a guy that has 40 career fights, more fights than Jamal Charlo, more fights than Demetrius Andrade, and he has 40 career fights. He had a WBO, legitimate WBO title at 154 where he beat somebody, a nobody for it, and then decided to move up to 160. Why? Because
nobody beat Miguel Cotto. That nobody beat Miguel Cotto, by the way, just so you know, in case you remembered.
Yeah, but Miguel Cotto was at the end of the line.
Yeah.
I won money on that fight because I bet Saddam Ali was gonna beat Miguel Cotto, bro. Come on now. But here's the thing,
nobody. So I'm Ali beat a nobody then. Okay, all right.
Here's the thing. Jaime Mejia is not that good, and to tell you the truth, right now, I don't really think he beats anybody on the top level. I don't, and it's a shame right now that. If people keep talking about
him, he's not holding the division hostage though. Okay, let's say you're right, Drew. Let's say you're right. Let's say McGee's a piece of crap. He's not holding the division hostage. This whole, nobody's fighting anybody. Nobody is.
He's got a good point.
Here's the problem.
Guys ever fought each other. None of the PBC 168 guys ever fought each other. None of the 160s ever fought each other.
Because of Canelo.
Right? He's not holding the division hostage.
If you got Triple G. And the thing about it is, Andre wanted to fight Triple G, and they're on the same network. And Eddie Hearn promotes them both at the time. Eddie Hearn couldn't even get a fight for Andre to fight Triple G. Instead, they worked on that fight with Ramota because it was an easier fight for Triple G. And and the business, and he thought he'll make more money because the fight being in Japan and everything. But
Triple G knocked the shit out of that.
Now, you guys brought up Triple G. Listen, this is my theory, guys. I honestly think that Oscar is going to play the wait and see game with Jaime's career, and that's look for an easy vacated belt to snatch up. Or if Gennady Golovkin wishes to fight after he gets pummeled by Canelo Alvarez in September, because I think that's how it's going to play out, then Oscar's going to go for that move and say, I'd like Jaime to go for Triple G's belt at 160, because Triple G is moving up. He's not sacrificing his belts, his 2 belts. And then after that, then only then will Oscar say, we would like to fight against the 40-year-old Gennady Golovkin. I want to switch into this a little bit, not to stay on the phone, because this is really pressing issues going forward regarding Jaime's career. Drew, Oscar De La Hoya, and this is all over the news. And you know I love me Las Vegas, and you know I dream about relocating to Las Vegas. And here it is, man. Oscar.
There's no water, Dave.
There's no water. I know. What am I, fucking crazy, dude? What am I crazy? The hell am I thinking? Listen to this, okay?
They got liquor.
Oscar turned off his comments on Twitter because he got tired of everybody commenting. Now he's re-engaged. Now you can tweet back and you can talk back to Oscar De La Hoya. And he let everybody know that he's going to be the first billionaire Latino athlete because he wants to sell Golden Boy. And then he let the comments go. So don't sell Golden Boy, Oscar. Don't sell. Oh, Oscar, we love you so much. This mother effer bought a $14.6 million Henderson home. Look at this thing, guys. All right. You know, he's dating the girl. He's dating a girl that went out with Vegas Dave. You don't know who Vegas Dave is? Go watch the YouTube documentary. This girl used to date Vegas Dave, and Oscar's dating her. Like, why would you want Vegas Dave's sloppy seconds? And Drew, it gets worse than that. Since she's from Las Vegas, he wants to make sure they have a beautiful home. One of the most expensive homes in Las Vegas. Henderson, to be exact. Okay, Henderson, very well known for being a highly Republican part of Las Vegas. They got their own mayor, right? So here it is. Oscar De La Hoya buys a 10,460 square feet custom home built by Blue Heron. Look, this thing is a masterpiece. Now you got Oscar saying he wants to run for mayor of Las Vegas. Drew, his head is nowhere on the minds of his fighters like Ryan Garcia or Jaime Munguia. He could give a shit. Okay, I'm telling you what's happened. Oscar is he's tuned out. Oscar's ready to let go. Give me the money, and I'm done with it. I'm done with boxing. Jaime can go figure it out his goddamn self, and so can Ryan Garcia.
You know what? To that point, that as a Republican, mainly Republican-based county, part of Vegas and everything, I was watching wrestling last night, and I saw Jesse Vargas on New Japan Pro Wrestling. On Dominion show, and he actually, I guess he's a 4-time member of the United Empire now, or their heel faction. Guys at ringside accompany wrestlers to the ring and everything. I was like, how the fuck did this dude get on New Japan?
Well, he was out there with Nonito Donaire. Him and Nonito are homies. Nonito also relocated to Las Vegas, and he ran, you're just bringing up Jesse Vargas, but he ran unsuccessfully for Congress. But I give him credit, whether he's not a Republican or Democrat, he's trying, a Latino Chicano is trying to be involved in American government. Props to him for that, but it was a failure. So that's what he's doing out there in Japan, Drew. He's trying to get some money, man. He's doing pro wrestling, whatever it is.
He put the United Empire logo up. I don't know how long they're going to keep him in the group for, but who cares? But at the end of the day, I think this is the biggest. Like I said, this is the biggest pitch for Oscar when selling Golden Boy. I got 3 potential undefeated stars on this stable. You can build the stable around. But I'll be honest with you, you got a guy that hasn't fought, an undefeated guy on the shelf that hasn't fought since being Alexis Rocha, and I'm talking about Speedy Ellis, and they have not done nothing with him since that to build off of. And I think
Rashidi Ellis is with the PBC now. Rashidi Ellis is with the PBC. He's fighting on a card next month on Showtime.
Thank God for that, because tell you the truth, at least they're going to do something with him, at least, because I felt really bad about the kid because he beat one of the guys that they were trying to build up, and he got good decisions on him, and then you don't use him and everything. You could have built him up for Joe Ortiz. That would have been a fucking good fight. and everything. It's kind of fucked up.
Hey,
That,
the thing with Rashidi Ellis, after he beat Rocha, some other guy started getting in his ear, right? Because Golden Boy was offering him fights, but he was refusing them. And a lot, the scuttlebutt is that like some other promoter got in his ear and kind of let the contract, run out, and he went to the other promoter. And I don't have to say what it is, Al Heyman, right? That's what happened with Rashidi Ellis. Now he's with PBC, which is fine, good for him. Like you said, probably a good move, financially.
it's probably the best move
As far
for
as
him.
Oscar goes, dude, I got like 4 or 5 Oscars in my family, dude. They like to party. They're in middle age, and they're from the hood. Oscar's from the hood, man. Don't get it twisted, man. I know he's the golden boy. I know he, won the Olympic gold medal, but he's a hood, man. He's from the hood, dude.
And he dressed
when
like
you
a
get
cross.
money, you're from the hood, you have a good time.
All right,
And we can't cross wrestle.
my homeboy Sin City Syndicate says, De La Hoya offered 10 figures for Golden Boy? Sell your stable and him and Holly can buy a Coke farm. Hashtag big facts. Man in the Water, thank you for joining us. He's got some really nice questions about
I don't
Canelo.
know what's he talking about when it comes if he was at 160. Who's he talking to?
Oh, he's talking to all of us on the panel. This is kind of a
No,
fantasy
I'm
question.
about who's he comparing?
He said, if Canelo was at 130, would he beat Stevenson? If he was at 135, would he beat Haney? No. If he was at 147, would he beat Crawford? If he was at 154, would he beat Jermell? Now, it sounds to me like he's trying to play a little bit into the whole racial aspect of boxing. Like, would he beat the best African-American fighters? And it's hard to tell. That's why we have that's why we do pound for pound lists, right? Because in our heads, we like to put out these fantasy matchups, right? How has Canelo done against elite boxers? Well, the only ones that we've seen him again recently are Floyd Mayweather and Dimitri Bivol, who outboxed him. So,
well,
Caleb Plant's a good boxer, man. Caleb Plant's a good boxer. So is Lara, right? So was Austin Trout.
They're all good boxers,
like
and those were good wins for Canelo. Absolutely.
I look at
even if
at
they were
like
tight.
This. Man of Water, I'm gonna give you a little educational lesson tonight, right now. I like Andre and everything. I think Canelo will lose to Andre, but here's the thing.
Preface it with that one.
To question somebody, why is he on pound for pound? The pound for pound list is about accomplishments of active fighters. Canelo is a multi-divisional champion, and Canelo is the first ever undisputed at super middleweight. And that's why Canelo is technically number 1 pound for pound. Now, if you wanted to, if he was at certain weight classes, he beat these guys, he beat those guys, I really would tell you the truth right now. Why are we even entertaining that fact is unrealistic, to be honest with you. To me, bringing up unrealistic topics is a waste of somebody's life thinking about it. So you probably just wasted 5 minutes of your life.
No, he didn't. I'm glad, Drew.
I'm glad you
I
brought
got
it
to
up.
counter you. I'm appreciative that Man in the Water is joining the Shoe Shine today, and I'll answer this one really quickly. I think at Canelo and Stevenson at 130 would be a fantastic fight. I think Stevenson's probably the best of the bunch in those lighter weights. I think he's much better than Haney. There's no doubt in my mind that Canelo Alvarez, if he was a 135-pound fighter, would knock out Haney silly. Just the guy's got no punch resistance. When he faces a big, heavy puncher, he gonna get knocked out silly. Okay. Then he said at 147, would he have beat Crawford? That's a really interesting fight because Crawford is heavy-handed. I don't know about that fight. But Jermell,
Hey, people gotta remember, man. Canelo's 5'6", man.
And he started his career.
5'6".
So the Jermell fight is really easy because we've seen him in so many fights at 154. And he was a world champion at 154. And there's no doubt in my mind that at 154, he would have knocked out and beat Jermell. Okay? Not quite the skill level that Lara had at 154 pounds to give him a lot of trouble. And that's why I'm choosing a toss-up with Stevenson, because I think Stevenson is more talented than Lara as a boxer. But the other ones were fairly easy for me to answer. I think he knocks out Jermell and he knocks out Haney easily. So not always is a slick boxer going to beat Canelo. Dimitri Bivol did it with power too, man. Not only is he a slick boxer, but he was making Canelo second guess himself continuously in that latest fight of his. Worried about Bivol's power for sure.
Like, all right, I'm gonna have to say something because here's the thing. The guys that he brung up, yeah, Terrence Crawford is a problem. Devin Haney, I'm gonna be honest to you, he had the easiest route to Undisputed and everything. Part of the most fun Undisputed fight I ever seen in my fucking life, first of all. And number two, I don't think there's gonna be fighters I don't think Devin Haney beats. I don't think he's gonna he'll succeed at 140 because it's just a different animal. And those fighters, they can box and they got power too. Devin Haney has very suspect defense. He's not the best at 135, Devin Haney. I'm going to tell you that right now. He's not. He's ranked the best because he's undisputed, but he's not the best at 135. I'm going to tell you that right now. But I didn't even have Kambosos as the best at 135 if you look at it like that. Because if you look at it like that right now, Kambosos is a very basic fighter, predictable. And Devin Haney, if you want to look at Devin Haney, he's a two-punch fighter. He doesn't throw more than two-punch combinations. He tries to go with the jab, but the problem is, people see close to how Haney fights, when Haney throws that jab, he leaves himself wide fucking open to get countered. And Kambosos was not the guy that's going to do it because he has a 68-inch reach, and Devin Haney has a 70-some reach over him. So let's look at it like that. Devin Haney, if you saw the Kambosos fight, every time Kambosos got inside, he held him. You put him against a better foot movement fighter, a better all-around fighter. Devin Haney doesn't do that. Devin Haney doesn't even go on the inside. He's not a good inside fighter. If he tries to hold on to a better fighter like that, they're going to hit him in the belly. They're going to probably stop him in the belly. And I'm telling you this right now, he doesn't have a chin. He has no defense. And like for you to tell you the truth, I'm sorry, man. Jojo Diaz got inside and hurt him. So come on,
Jojo Diaz did a shitload lot better than Kambosos did. I will give Jojo Diaz credit for that. He did a lot better. Speaking of Haney, I'm appreciative that he's into the idea of fighting Loma before going up to 140 pounds. Drew, that is a big statement for him that he is willing to fight Lomachenko. I don't think anyone wants to see the Kambosos fight, but if Kambosos exercises his rematch clause, we're just going to have to sit around and wait for Haney versus Loma. And there's no guarantee of that either. I mean, Haney's not obligated to stay at 135 pounds. He is obligated contractually to fight Kambosos, which I think would be a bore fest, man. I think it's not going to play out much differently at all.
Let's be honest. I'm gonna be honest right now. My bad, Unando. Give me 1 second. Man on water, tell me why Haney beats Loma. How is that an easy fight? Tell me why. And I'm going to tell you this right now, man on water. I already know what you're going to say, bro. I already know what you're going to say.
Swami.
Because everybody says the same bullshit. And I want you to say it because I know you're going to say
Well, why don't you say what he's going to say, and he can put it in the chat if he's not ready to call the show. He can put it in the chat, and we'll see if Drew's predictions are accurate.
Come on, say it. Tell me why.
He's willing to put some money on it, which is always exciting. Because we do have to move on to the next topic, man, because there's a fantastic unification matchup this weekend, and I can't wait to talk about that one. There it is. He's more skilled. He is more skilled. That's it, Drew. You got your answer.
He said one thing already. I'm going to tell you what all these casuals, because he said casual
Lomachenko's more skilled.
I'm going to tell you why. He's going to tell me Haney beats Lomachenko because he has a big size advantage on him and he's more skilled. That's all. Everybody fucking says that shit. That's a casual.
He didn't throw in the size
and everything. Do you really, really, man, really, seriously, you really going to say that casual bullshit that everybody else says? Like seriously, if you don't realize Loma has way better footwork than Haney. He's a fucking southpaw. He has power, and he fought bigger guys that are bigger than Haney, and he was able to get inside. So you're telling me Loma ain't gonna get inside on Haney? Like seriously?
Come
on, bro.
I think we will leave this fantasy.
I'll give you the.
First
I
of
gave
all,
you the full
we are
breakdown,
so
bro.
far away from it, and we will give Man in the Water a future opportunity to call in the show if
Calling
this
the show,
if this fight
calling the show, fella.
if
Calling
the,
the show.
if the fight materializes as ever. I mean, this is way in the future. This is so
Just
far
like his
damn in the
fight with
future.
Teofimo.
The other thing I do appreciate that Haney said this week is he's not interested in fighting Ryan Garcia and giving Ryan Garcia an opportunity. He said we did this in the amateurs, and I gave him. He had an opportunity as a professional already, and he didn't take it. So the hell with Ryan Garcia. Good. I'm glad. I'm very glad about that.
Tell you the truth, Ryan Garcia don't deserve shit. Fuck him.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Well,
At least you agree with me, Dave. What the fuck?
and here it is, guys.
Nando, are you agreeing to
Hey.
this?
Look, Brian Garcia, like I agree with you. Like he has a lot to prove, also, right?
Good. We'll
But
agree
these
with
guys are lightweight. They need him and Tank, one or the other to sell a fight. Because Devin Haney doesn't sell a fight by himself. He just doesn't. And neither does Shakur. They both got the exact same style. There's that negative style, man. You know, so one way or another, I mean, I don't mind if Ryan loses, but I want to see that fight. Why not, man? It'd be fun while it lasts, you know? But the fight I don't want to see is Devin Haney versus Shakur, which might happen, right? Because, you know, Loma's still at war. There's no guarantee we're going to get Loma versus Devin Haney next year. There's no guarantee of that.
No,
you know?
Nando,
We might end up getting Shakur versus Haney.
Nando,
Which is
I'm
an
gonna be
excellent
honest with
fight.
you.
Excellent fight. Even
I'm
though
gonna
they're
be honest with
friends,
you.
it's going to be hard to make. I think it's going to be hard to make that fight because they're
I'm
too
going to
friendly.
say this right now. Shakur Stevenson stops Devin Haney.
It got quiet.
And I'm telling you that right now. Shakur Stevenson would stop Devin Haney.
It's possible, Drew. I'll tell you, I saw Shakur, finally got to see him live in person against Oscar Valdez in Las Vegas. And I was impressed in person with the clinical beatdown he was putting on Valdez, man. It was really something to behold, man. He is a master of distance. And so, but he also can put together more punches. That's what I'm saying. Like with Shakur Stevenson, he can put the punches together in a fashion that Haney doesn't. Haney's content with the 1-2 and the jab, using it as a power move.
I loved what I saw against Jamal Herring. That version of Shakur, I like that version.
And
That version
remember,
reminds me a little bit of,
we were just talking about Shakur being a bore fest for like 5 or 6 fights straight. Like nobody was happy with Shakur's development. Nobody was, because he was boring. He was being thrusted upon us as a headliner at Top Rank, and he was stinking up all the fights. Happily content to go 12 rounds with no bodies. But then finally he steps up and gets a fight of a lifetime to win a title against Herring, a warrior. And he puts on a fantastic showing. And then he does it again in success and shuts up a largely Latino crowd in Las Vegas and does it again. You know, which is exactly why I started the whole show talking about Berlnaga. Dude, you were given this opportunity by Top Rank to be the next Puerto Rican star, to be the next Miguel Cotto, or like Drew was saying, and he can't do it. He just can't do it. But Shakur Stevenson can. So I'm excited, man. Hey, we already got people in the chat wondering, Beterbiev versus Smith is going to be a war. Jose El Compita, yes, it's going to be a war. And it's going to be the answer to all these boring weekends in a row that I think we've been having, man.
I gotta say this, man. Shout out to my paisan Vito Spatafolio.
Oh yeah, wasn't he from Philly? All right, he was from Philly, right?
New York.
Okay, well,
Newark,
I thought he was from
Newark,
Philly.
New
I thought he was a
Jersey.
Philly Italian.
But I'll be honest with you, man. I'm gonna be honest, man. Over set your alarm to 10:40 every Monday night, man. You get an education from me free at charge.
Hey, what's up, Andre? And Vito Spatafori. The funny thing is that Vito Spatafori looks Mexican, man. He's supposed to be Italian, but he looks Mexican. He looks like the homeboy G Funky. That's hilarious. All right.
a little bit like Tapia.
Beterbiev versus Smith Jr. this weekend, a unification light heavyweight matchup. Man, if Canelo Alvarez had won that fight against Dimitri Bivol a few weeks back, we would be talking about this. The whole world would be talking about this because they'd be expecting Canelo to fight the winner of this matchup, and both of these guys are beasts. Of course, Drew, you can remind me how Joe Smith Jr. did against Dimitri Bivol because they've already fought. And Smith Jr. was on the verge of knocking out Bivol and couldn't do it and lost on the scorecard. So I'll go with Drew first, man. Drew, heavy hitting, blue collar union worker like Drew Evo from the East Coast, versus a Canadian Russian in Beterbiev. And by the way, Beterbiev can take cuts, man. That last fight he had was the most bloodiest thing I've seen this year, man. Who was that against, Drew? Beterbiev versus
Marcus Brown.
Marcus Brown. Yeah, no slouch, man. That was an incredible bloodbath, gutsy performance. And both of these guys are entirely capable of going through that kind of warfare. Is that the word I'm looking for? Who's going to win this, Drew?
I'm picking upset. I think Joe Smith's going to get a late stoppage on him.
Really?
Here's the thing. I don't think Beterbiev. I know how to say it now because I was on Mario. We were kind of talking about it.
Okay.
Earlier, but shout out to Maestro. But I really, really think that, he has never fought a guy that keeps moving forward, has a great chin, and keeps throwing punches, hard punches, bombs. I think the longer this fight goes, the better it goes for Joe Smith. So I really think this is an upset. He's 37, Beterbiev. What the fuck his name is? God damn it.
What did you just say? Beterbiev? I like that. Beterbiev. I like that hybrid.
But I look at it. He's 37. I think the body generally breaks down, and I think with him not being used to being into a fight that he's probably going to be in this weekend, I don't know if he holds up. And I think the longer this fight goes, the better it is for Joe Smith. So I'm going Joe Smith, 11th round stoppage.
Very, very interesting. Very interesting. Nando, you want to get on this prediction, man? This is a tough one to call. This is a really tough one to call. But Drew's pointing out that Beterbiev seems to have stamina issues in the mid-round range. How do you see this fight playing out?
Well, Drew kind of stole my thunder, man. Thank you, Drew.
You stole my thunder on Twitter.
Joe Smith has always kind of reminded me a little bit of Kelly Pavlik.
Yeah.
Where he's got that bounce in his legs and that big right hand punch. And Beterbiev, man, he seems like he's slowing down little by little by little, man. The Glavasic fight was a tough fight. He won that fight. The last fight he had was a tough fight. He won it. I think Joe Smith might be the one that tips him over the edge, man, and puts him out, takes him out. I kind of agree with Drew, man. It's going to be a great fight. I think it's going to be 10th or 11th round knockout for Joe Smith, man. That's what I'm predicting as well.
We got two people here. Now the chat here, some people are agreeing. Chauncey Pearls, shout out to him. He says, I am with Drew. I think Smith is going to get the upset. But Andre Rodriguez, long time no see, homie. Appreciate you being here with the shoe shine. Says Beterbiev and 9. And you know what? I think one thing that's going to happen for sure is that there's going to be some heavy cuts, and that's going to be on the side of Beterbiev. That Smith's going to open up some cuts, and that is absolutely going to affect Beterbiev because he now has cuts that are kind of bleed into his eye, man. And whether he likes it or not, it's going to make it more difficult for Beterbiev. But initially, my feeling was that Beterbiev was going to stop Smith Jr. in the late rounds. So I'm actually the opposite of you guys. I thought Beterbiev. I'm rooting for Smith. I've always rooted for the blue collar guy. Always rooted for Kelly Pavlik from Ohio, Youngstown, man, who represented all the hardworking blue collar folks, man. But I think Beterbiev is going to edge this one out in the late rounds. Go ahead, Drew.
I'm sorry. I look at it like this: if Beterbiev would have fought Grovestick now, I think Grovestick would stop him. But they were around the same age when they fought and everything. Or I think Grovestick was a little bit younger, but Beterbiev was like at the hype. That was I consider that the hype of his career and how the fight was going. Early on, Grovestick was giving him problems and everything. But I just really think that, with his age and everything, I just don't see. I think the longer the fight goes, Joe Smith is in the driver's seat in this. And I think that's the best thing for him, is to try to make this a long fight and to make sure that he's there. He's all he's all good and everything and all ready to go body to body with the dude. Because I really think this goes down to stamina. I think this goes down to who can take whose power and who can take it the longest. I just think Joe Smith is going to be there for stoppage.
Listen, and if Joe Smith,
I think Joe Smith's going to have the hometown crowd too.
He will.
He's going to have the hometown crowd cheering him on.
He is.
He's going to be full of energy. I mean, I like Joe Smith a lot, man. You know what's interesting, man? There's a lot of great fights to be made at 175, man. I think this might be the beginning of a good year run for the 175-pound division. We got Vlasov, Joe Smith, Beterbiev, Bivol, and Sorzel, right? And Buatsi. Right, that's you can make some matches with guys and make some really good fights up there at 175, man.
You can make great fights.
Canelo, man. Canelo should stay at 168.
Absolutely, absolutely agree with you. And here's the thing, dude. Okay, Smith Jr. gets this upset, like you guys are calling. I don't know what the odds are. Maybe it's not going to be an upset. Maybe they're not even that far apart right now. But should he get that decision, Drew, then that forces a rematch with Bivol. It makes that rematch. The rematch, first of all, nobody really saw the first one. Bivol wasn't even known to people like he is known now, right?
But I look at it like this. I think the winner of this fight's going to wind up having Anthony Yard.
Could be,
fight.
Could be, but I hope not. I hope that they will decide for themselves that the 175 it needs to be undisputed, and somebody needs to get that. But like Nando just said, man, there's some great guys waiting in the wings. Zurdo Ramirez is worthy opponent to any of these guys, as is young people like Buatsi, who just put on a dominant, very interesting performance on DAZN just a few weeks back, man. Either way, I think that 175-pound division owes Canelo Alvarez a lot for bringing all eyes on this division full of amazing, talented fighters on that 175-pound division right now, for sure, man. This was really funny. I wanted to bring this comment up. Chicano says, I hope Nando ain't tying up the phone line if the ladies were trying to call in this week. Well, regrettably, Chicano Prophet, this week, no ladies called the show, man. Unfortunately. Yeah, it went dry again. We dried up with the ladies' phone calls, Drew.
I'm gonna be honest with you.
Be assured, man. They would have hung up the phone on me real quick. Be assured that they would have hung up the phone on me 2.9 seconds, man. Yep.
So hopefully, hey, if you catch the replay, ladies, if you're catching the replay at this exact moment, make sure you call in next week, because @Drew Evo would like to speak to you.
What he said.
No, but thank you for taking my phone call, man. I appreciate you guys.
Hey, man, I appreciate it, Nando.
Thank you.
All right, guys, that was our homeboy Nando calling from the 510. Another comment I'll read before we wrap this up. It says, also, Benavidez wants Charlo to move up to fight him. Benavidez wants Canelo. Why won't Benavidez move up and fight these guys? Why don't we push for that? Chauncey, I agree that Benavidez has been starving himself to make 168 pounds for so long. And he has the opportunity in the next year to year and a half to move up to an even more challenging and dangerous weight division. And that's light heavyweight, where he probably actually belongs. And, you know, as his body is maturing and physically growing again, I think he's going to be a great contender at 175 pounds. So we should, as fans, be pushing for that, especially if he's nowhere near a Canelo lottery ticket. You know, do your own thing. Do your own thing. Man in the Water also wanted us to know, he said the odds are totally lopsided right now. Beterbiev is -1,000. It means you got to bet $1,000 to make 100. Beterbiev is the heavy favorite right now. We're going to see how it plays out. Drew, I don't think that your pick was wild and ridiculous. I think Smith has got a fantastic chance. He's got long arms, long reach, and an equally dangerous heavy punch. It was a crazy weekend in boxing. Drew, I'm gonna give you the floor, man. What was the good, the bad, the ugly, whatever you want to call it, your favorite part of the weekend in the sport of boxing?
It wasn't no favorite part of the weekend. It all sucked. But here's the thing, man. This past weekend was the final nail in Don King Promotions.
Ouch. Whose promotions?
Don King Promotions.
Oh, man. He's still
Trevor
doing
Bryan.
things?
Yeah, Trevor Bryan was knocked out flat on his face by Daniel Dubois.
Why is Daniel Dubois fighting in a high school auditorium in Miami, dude? Isn't he got a better promotional deal?
Yeah, but Don King won the post bid, so you gotta know what it is, man.
How much was that purse bid? $50?
I don't know. That bingo hall was fucking not that big at all. But I'll be honest with you now. To tell you the truth, we should have a moment of silence for Don King Promotions. Fuck the moment of silence. It's done anyway. He has Makabu, but that motherfucker got knocked out by Tony Bellew. So who gives a fuck about that shit?
Daniel Dubois coming over here to Miami and fighting, he got knocked out by Joe Joyce, didn't he? With just that thudding jab.
He got stopped, yeah.
He got stopped. All right, hey. But Dubois, he says this is going to put him in a mandatory position to fight Usyk or Joshua eventually. He's still, guys can recover and come back from fights like that. But I want to bring up another fighter this weekend on Friday. I didn't talk about it, and that was Showtime Showbox did all heavyweight prospects. And Jalalov is a guy that could potentially be a problem in a year or two for any of these fighters. He won gold at the Olympics, and he was on Showbox this Friday, and he also has beat that Mexican-American kid from California that went silver. Richard Torres, he's beat him each and every time. I think he's made for the heavyweight division. Jalalov gets a stoppage, will be a very interesting contender in the heavyweight division, man. I want to thank you all for joining me and Drew on the Shoe Shine. Every Monday night we get together to talk about boxing because I think boxing could be just as fun as any other sport. I think it's more fun actually to follow the sport than any of the other sports, or we wouldn't be doing this every Monday. So let everybody know that might like combat sports to catch Dave and Drew Evo on Monday nights. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't. We would appreciate it, and we'll always appreciate your phone calls, man. Appreciate each and one of yous. All right, Andre says Jalalov has an iron chin, and yeah, he has an iron chin. Mom Food Planet thanks for joining us. She says, see ya. Drew, any final words?
Yeah, we love your phone calls. Doesn't mean I'm going to give a fuck about them at the end of the night, but hey, we're going to love your phone calls.
All right, we'll see you next week on the Shoe
with you guys.
We'll see you next week on the Shoe Shine. Till then, everybody take care. Oh, and happy Father's Day. Peace out, everybody.